It's funny. Remember you said the other day, you said, I do 15 videos with Cook to Power, and I was probably in the total of 15 seconds.
Do you know, it's really, do you know what's really weird, right? Because when I first met you guys, obviously I was like, oh, well, he was in this, he was in that. And I was always really focused on the cat stuff, and I was never really sort of like, oh, you know, but the more I got to know you and I heard the stories around it, I have actually gone on YouTube and had a look, and it's really hard to spot you.
What
I mean, obviously, you.
What, in a Tapao video?
First of all, because you looked a lot different, but as soon as you clock it, you go, it's obvious. But you're looking for the wrong things, and then when you spot it, you go, fuck me, yes, that's him. But also the other thing, as you say, you're just in for like a millisecond.
I think the 4 band members, or even 5, Ronnie Rogers. I think most of them video guys, most of them were done by Brian. Oh God, what's his name? He ended up producing New Tricks on the telly. Brian Grant.
Right.
He probably would have preferred it if we weren't even there. He's like, oh, 6-piece band. They was only ever interested in Carol, to be honest, and they got some of the videos. I mean, things like Valentine. They got an actor in to play a love thing, and they're on the boat on the Thames. We're in the Wimbledon Theatre, and we was like, well, we better put the band in it somewhere. Oh, just come stand there, pretend we're at a party. I mean, and he's like, oh, there I am. What, you missed it? Oh, bollocks.
Rewind it. Yeah.
And it wasn't one of my favourite things we had to do. I would have more than happy been, yeah, let Carol go and do it. She likes doing all of that lot.
Well, you were in. Did I find one the other day? I couldn't actually decide if you were in this one. I found one. You know when you've searched for something a little bit and then for weeks after it keeps trying to give you more of the same thing. I keep getting them popping up, and there was one popped up which was something like the Brit Awards or something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, it's quite a wide stage, but all the shots are really wide except when it's Carol, but everybody else, and you're literally like going, you can barely. You couldn't even work out if you're in that one.
Yeah,
I guess you are, but you know.
Of course, Brit Awards, all of those Prince's Trusts. The only video I wasn't in was the very first one, Heart and Soul, because when that was first released, it was a flop, and I found out that they was auditioning guitar players way before they took off. It was completely unknown, but it was a professional job. Got me off the building site. They had a major record deal, and I was only in it, about 3 or 4 months, and then it took off in America, and then that's when it really just went mental. So the only one I was never in was Heart and Soul.
Right.
From then on, China in Your Hand, which I do actually play guitar on the single version. Yeah, I did everything.
Because
you recognise my guitar on the Brits? It's Pinky.
Is it Pinky? Yeah. This is the thing. I was looking at it going, I'm pretty sure that's you, but there's literally the camera's up in the gods, isn't it?
See Pinky, oh, there's Deano with his silly haircut.
We all had one.
The waddle mullet, was it?
We all had him. We all had him.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I didn't have a waddle mullet. Thank you very much.
Well, I wanted to sue Billy Ray Cyrus. He fucking copied my haircut, man. I should have painted that.
He said that. He said that in an interview, actually. Yeah.
I see this
nicked that off Dean Howard.
Yeah.
There's this thing of China in Your Hand was recorded twice, wasn't it?
Mm.
And what they never talk about in the interviews, the reasons for that. You brought a rockier edge, didn't you?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So in the interview, it's always like, oh, well, we went down a bit of a rocky road, but nobody ever actually mentions you. I wanted your take on it. What was that basically it? You came in, brought a rockier edge, and they went, well, actually, we're playing this live. And you tell the story, I don't know.
What, with China in Your Hand? Why it was recorded? Well, the album version that Taj Wachowski done. I mean, he's a great player, but he came more from the jazzy, jazz rock side, and he did a great job on the album. But the record company wanted that as a single, much to Karen and Ronnie's, they was flat dead against it. But record companies, they're the paymasters. And we went to New York to try it, and it was in the days when you used to literally cut and splice tape, stick it together with a bit of tape.
Yeah, remember those days.
And there was only a studio in New York because of Roy Thomas Baker. He needed something like 96 channels. And
as you do.
Yeah, and it just didn't work. It sounded like an edit. They had to cut out a whole verse, and we had to condense, I think about nearly 5-6 minutes long down to a 3-minute 20. And it just sounded crap, apparently. So I didn't go to New York to do that. I went off with a crew and partied somewhere else. And they said, like, well, if you want it as a single, we got back to London, and we used Manfred Mann. Used to have a studio down the Old Kent Road.
Oh.
Right on the Old Kent Road, just along from the Henry Cooper pub. That was his studio.
Yeah.
How 70s is that? How 70s is that?
Perfect.
Manfred Mann, just along from the Henry Cooper pub.
Yeah. And we went in.
Morecambe and Wise were in.
We recorded it as a 3-minute song, but we cut out and done all the edits and played it. So, it had the continuity instead of cutting and splicing. Now, with computers, you can edit stuff and you just don't see the join. So that's how that came
join
about.
Morecambe and Wise again. There you go.
Of course, the other thing is you used to bounce stuff down onto, like, you think, well, that's finished, and you bounce stuff down. You couldn't deconstruct it the way you can now. You've always still got every single channel that
without
you
the
did.
master 2-inch tapes, which sometimes used to rub over and re-record on them because they're expensive.
Yeah.
Even then, they're £100 a blooming reel.
Yeah.
But that's what I was saying earlier on, like with the records and all that. They weren't what I would call really rocky. Power pop rock, some of it, and some of it was quite dancey and ballady.
And it's also production techniques, wasn't it? It's a power of very production, typical 80s production band.
First 2 albums, with
like
Thomas Baker.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to turn out.
All that Go West, all those bands of that ilk, it was very much a production band.
Isn't it funny, though, how people look back and remember things that in ways that, in my opinion, are not actually how it was? Because rock music back then, everybody goes back and talks about, there was Judas Priest this and Sabbath this and whatever. Rock fans were listening to, one minute they'd be banging away like listening to, I don't know, an AC/DC album, but the same people would be listening to like Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran, because it was pretty much, that was where rock was hovering around.
It was still,
it was
still based
melody
on a live
and
band format, wasn't it? It was still, it was something, I mean, I might be wrong, but pop really, really, really changed dramatically with Trevor Horn doing Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because the minute Relax come out, that was was another game changer where people went, this production game's gone up another level here, because it was all Fairlights.
Yeah, that's
so he took what was a live band from Liverpool, went, come in lads. Oh no, actually all go away apart from Holly
but
Johnson.
just leave your scenery.
Yeah, all on the Fairlight. Made this ridiculous
Do you know who played
production.
guitars on all of that?
Gary Moore did some overdubs on the Liverpool album. Gary Moore played on some of it.
Yeah, but all of that, Relax and all of that, it's all Trevor Rabin.
Of course it is. Yeah,
Trevor Rabin is one of the most amazing
something to
musicians
do with
ever.
But that went the other way as well, because there was a really good interview the other day on the Rock on Tours podcast with Thomas Dolby, and he played.
I nearly run him over one day.
Oh really?
He was that fucking far from ending on my bonnet, mate. I'll tell you.
Right, come on. In that case, this story's way better than my.
Right, okay, I'm gonna. Ooh, baby.
So,
round 2.
Thomas Dolby getting run over.
Yeah.
That's what we need. Hit it.
Right. Let him do his last wobble.
That's his last wobble.
Thomas Dolby.
Right. If I was 1-2 seconds quicker, he would have ended up on my bonnet. I was uptown.
Were you in a Buick?
No, I was in my Ford Escort van.
There's a gag there because he did Aliens Ate My Buick. It's one of his albums.
Oh.
Come
really?
on, yes.
No, Aliens nearly ate my Ford Escort van. But yeah, I was up, I think Queensway, up like Portobello Road, up that way. I'm coming along, I had to do a left. So I've chucked a left like that, and I've literally, oh fuck, this geezer just ran across. And I say, if I was 1-2 seconds earlier, he would have been, because he had to jump out the way of the car.
Superb.
Or this bloke did, and it weren't until he jumped and got on the curb, and I'm like that. I was like, fuck me, that's Thomas Dolby. He nearly ended up on my bonnet.
He nearly killed his career.
There's
a strapline for this video. I killed Thomas Dolby's career. Nearly.
Well,
He actually done a load of work on a Van Halen album, the one that Mick Jones produced.
That's right,
he done all the programming.
Because Mick Jones had him on 4 on a 4.
4 on a 4. Yeah, that was what led us into this, because that's a really good interview with Thomas Dolby.
Amelia.
Yeah,
he did that as well.
He did. Have you ever nearly killed? I've got a nearly killed a rock star story. Have you got any? I'll tell you mine while you're thinking. I nearly killed Doug Aldrich. Seriously. Did a gig and I got asked to do camera in about 1999 or something like that, and it was some really weird festival at the Ritz in Manchester, and there was Enough's Enough were on. It was all this one label that had all these people, and one of the artists was on it was Burning Rain, so this is like pre Whitesnake and all that.
And long way, isn't it? Early 90s.
For some reason, we're in one of the greatest cities in the world, which is Manchester. And the guy that was running the thing, the weirdest setup ever, put us in a hotel in Skelmersdale. No idea why. So we're in this hotel in Skelmersdale. Everybody got the rooms broken into and the passport stolen. That was another story. Everybody's messing about. We're talking, and everybody's talking about bits and pieces. And I had a Subaru Impreza Turbo at the time, which was slightly tweaked.
Quality motor.
Talking to Doug, and he's talked about cars and whatever, and he said, "Oh, what do you drive?" I said, "Oh, I'm Impreza Turbo. I like my Jap cars at the moment. I'm going through a bit of a Jap phase, my second one." Nothing
wrong with that. I've been through it for many years.
Whole conversation which we could have. We could do a whole podcast about that. So basically, he said, "Oh," and I think his dad's quite wealthy or something. He was saying that his dad had a couple of Ferraris or something, and he liked Italian cars and like European cars. But you know, and we had a conversation about American muscle versus like, you know, the 2 litre flat 4 and all that kind of thing. And he got, we'd literally just got our first drink, so you know, still technically under the limit. He says, "Come on, take me out in the car, whatever." So Doug Aldrich gets in the side. I mean, I'd only just met the guy. You know, look at him now, and I go, eh. But then he was just this guitarist in this band. We talk. He gets in. We went off to Skelmersdale, and I went on this industrial estate, and I'm not the world's greatest driver in the first place, so I'm ragging this thing along, and I get to this roundabout, completely run out of talent. and I just go, turn, and it just understeers like a bastard, and I head off towards this industrial unit with the tyres screeching, smoke everywhere, and he's like, and I just went, I think we'll go back now, and just went and parked up again. And the next thing is in Whitesnake. I go, I could have changed history. I nearly killed him, you know. So yeah, so you nearly killed Thomas Dolby. I nearly killed Doug Aldrich.
I've not done anything like that. I can't even get anywhere near that, I don't think.
I've been very scared in a car with Jeff Beck.
Oh, I like the sound of this. Come on.
Right, well, my good mate of mine, Al Dutton, was his personal assistant, tour manager, mate, everything. We went down to where Jeff lives, and so Al said, "Come, we're going to go down and see Jeff tonight." I said, "Okay, cool." So he goes in this pub, and I had my first escort van, which was a 1968 on the old G-Reg. 68 or 69. You used to be able to lift the roof up and look at your mates inside it. It was, they used to call it the Isopomobile. It was fucking unbelievable, this thing. So anyway, we're having a drink, and Jeff turned up at the pub in a brand spanking new Stingray Corvette, but the new shape.
Cool.
He had it imported over from America. So Al said, like, we're going to go back to Jeff's and all that. I went, okay. He went, you jump in with Jeff. He said, I'll drive your van back. I went, oh, yeah, all right. Fucking hell. I mean, Jeff's driving. Anyway, it's country lanes, isn't it? I'm like, fucking hell. Then he kicked it back again. I'm like, whoa. And these fucking country lanes are doing this. I thought, he's a big major rock star. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I'm really fucking scared here. Oh, he floored this car.
Because he does he does a lot of
he races, doesn't he?
No, he does
he's hot rods.
Hot rods, that's it. That's what the word I was looking for. Yeah, he builds them. Interesting. I watched the documentary of that. It's absolutely fascinating. See, just for me, and I hope there are people that are watching this, if all three of you, I hope that the people who are watching this, it's kind of like when you just say, oh, you know, yeah, well, I got in the car with Jeff Beck and whatever. there's so much history between all of you guys in the band, and it's kind of, for me, I love rock and roll stories. I mean, I will prize them out of people. There's always that thing, it's like, oh, you know, well, you don't want to talk about it, just sound like you're name dropping and all that, but you could talk to me about it all day, and I'm hoping other people feel the same. But it does sort of beg the question, what is the most unlikely thing that somebody who knows you, what's the most unlikely thing that they would expect you to have played on? Have you played on anything obscure?
What, a gig or a record or something?
Let's go for either or. I mean, in record, I was thinking. I mean, you always surprise me because I always completely forget the Bad Company bit. I completely forget. I mentioned Bad Company before without even connecting you with it. You were in them. How did that come about?
Well, they'd been out in Nashville doing the album Stories Told, Stories Untold. And I knew Bucket was out there, otherwise known as Dave Colwell, who was the other guitarist with Mick Ralphs. But Mick couldn't. They'd done the album, and the 13-week tour was booked, 9 weeks with Ted Nugent, a week with LYNYRD. He was going through apparently a messy divorce, and he said, I can't do the tour, my head's not in it. So anyway, I was sitting in the bath one day and the phone rang, and Jill, my ex, she went, Dang, Bucket's on the phone. I'm like, he's in Nashville, what's he ringing me from Nashville for? Anyway, I flew downstairs, well, yeah, all right, Buck. She went, fancy doing an American tour? Mick can't do it. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So that was it. I went out and did the tour. That was fucking amazing.
Was that? Did you just do the American leg?
Yeah, just done the American tour.
But America and Bad Company go together, like, I mean, considering
massive,
you know, it's
massively.
If you watch something like, I don't know, Sons of Anarchy or something like that, there's not a scene in it where you couldn't slap a Bad Company tune in it. You know, it's bizarre that such a British backboned band is the backbone of American music in many respects. And
the thing as well what was amazing was the first show we done with SKYNYRD. Now they've always been one of my favourite bands.
Okay.
And it's one of those country fair. It was a daytime gig. We was on first, then Ted Nugent was on after us. Was Night Ranger on that one? Anyway, we're on stage, it's daytime, playing away, and it's in the days when you used to have massive PA stacks on the side of the stage. So I'm playing away, and I look round, and there's Johnny Van Zandt sitting on a chair like that, eating a pot noodle behind the PA system, just staring at me. I was like, all right. I turn around to me amps, Ricky Medlock, Leon Wilkinson, Billy Powell, Huey Tomlinson, standing behind me half stacks. All right. This is the first gig.
Brilliant.
I'm like, I can't believe this, man. I've got nearly all of LYNYRD. I've got the fucking singer sitting there eating a pot noodle staring at me. So anyway, we've done our set and SKYNYRD are getting ready and I'm just standing near them, and me and Bucket was there because he knows them really well. And they do their big group hug and talk about their fallen brothers and sisters like Casey Gaines, Steve Gaines, Alan Collins. They was all dead by then. And obviously Ronnie Van Zandt. And they all get in a big huddle and they went, hey man, come and join us. And I was in the LYNYRD huddle.
Brilliant.
I'm thinking, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Our brother Dean.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
And one of the other shows and all was we did, it was Bad Company, Ted Nugent, Doobie Brothers, SKYNYRD. And I was like, how more Americana can you get?
Yeah.
Anyway, after the last show we done with SKYNYRD, there's a bit of an after show drink thing and it's, thanks guys and blah, blah, blah. And I got chatting with Johnny Van Zandt. I went, yeah, I said, yeah, it's sort of a bit, put me off a little bit seeing you sitting there eating your pot noodle. He went, yeah, man. He said, I did that on purpose. He went, Bad Company's our favourite band. We love this band. He said, and when we found out Mick weren't doing it, it was like, I've got to check this guy out, see if you was paying it the right respect. He said, you done great, man.
Brilliant, brilliant. Weird lineup. You played on a weird lineup.
I played a weird lineup. Yeah, the trouble is, I've always been in my own bands. I've always been the kind of the ringleader of a band. So you don't ever see outside the castle, you know. So I never get offered to do other stuff. I don't think people like me very much. I think I'm too much of a threat. No, but the thing is, when you're your main objective is a songwriter, you're not going to get that kind of stuff coming on because you don't fit the remit of playing as a hired gun. And sometimes I'd like to have done it, but it's never occurred to me because I'm always known as being a songwriter that does his own thing and got my head far too up my own arse to possibly look out and see what's out there. But I did do, when we was doing the If Only album down in Advision with Jeff Downs, there was some crazy, it's about killing people. We tried to kill each other by drinking Stolich Naya many nights on the spin. There were some crazy nights on that, which involved him coming in one day and he said, do you fancy coming to Germany and doing a playback on a TV show? I was like, never done one before. Playback, miming, yeah, piece of piss. It was on the Stolly. It was right in the middle of doing this album that had cost us 100,000 quid and it was like being in Def Leppard. Just crazy studio time. And he said, it's for Mike Oldfield. I went, what, the virtuoso on Tubular Bells that doesn't need any other bloke at all ever, you know? He said, yeah, but he's changed his tactics, he's going a bit AOR. And he said, Jeff, could you put together like a bit of a long hair band with tasselled leather jackets that could come out and mime this new single? He said, I thought you'd fit the bill and get Matey Boy to do it and we'll yeah. Do you get paid? Get paid? It's gonna, you'll get treated like royalty, mate. It's going to be big news. When I'm in. So my first time on a TV show was going out to Germany straight from Jeff's house in Wimbledon Village, still pissed on Stolly, to get on a plane on behalf of Virgin Records, going to Germany, getting out and we got met by two massive limos. That classic Spinal Tap, you know. We had our names from Mike Oldfield's band, you know, and we got taken out to two limos. I sits in the front with the driver because in my stupidity, it was Saturday morning and I wanted to see whether get the old football thing on. Don't know why I did that, but I did. So I'm in the front of a limo with people in the back. We get taking this thing and we meet Mike Oldfield. Oh, hi there. We have to go to this massive studio for a playback. At this point, I still hadn't even been given the song to listen to what I was learning. I went, I've done what the fucking song. So I'm frantically trying to hear the song in this TV studio. Luckily, there's like an hour before it to do it. And I'm like, he said, and I'm playing bass guitar. So I was given a bass guitar. Mr. Bass player, we have your bass. Oh, thank you. White Fender Precision. I'm going dum, doing Dancing in the Moonlight on it. Oh, fucking hell. And we were drunk still. So heard the song, I thought, whatever. And I still didn't know what it was all about. I just thought, why are we in this kind of weird sports centre type, huge, Enormo Dome type place? And they said, there's going to be a whole TV audience coming in here. I said, well, what's it all about? I said to this, like, we had a German interpreter, and we had like the guy that was, I think his name was Jeremy, that was handling Mike for the weekend. What's it all about? You know, I'm playing bass. He said, what's it all about? You know, I just thought it was a bit of a hoot. You know, I didn't realise. He said, biggest TV show in Germany. It goes out once a year, and it's their equivalent of You Bet. Remember that programme You Bet?
Yeah.
With Matthew Kelly, we had to bet on things, and it was like that. And he said, there's loads of top people coming on. I said, who's on the bill with us then? And he went, well, you got Peter Ustinov. He's come to do a bit of a chat. Rod Stewart's topping the bill, and then the Bee Gees are going on after you. I'm like, oh, fuck, and I'm pissed. So we're on the TV show with the Bee Gees, Rod Stewart and Peter Ustinov, and some German band as well. It's like, oh my God, this is bad. So we did the run through these Roman pillars and stuff, and then we kind of just had to get taken back to the hotel. We had presidential suites on the top floor. I mean, I how big my hotel room was, I had 4 phones in my room. one either side of the bed, because if you was on that side of the bed, you weren't getting over to that. So you had a phone either side. There's one at the front, and I had this massive bathroom with the phone in the bathroom with gold taps. Bouquet of flowers the size of a yacht.
Which is just so you.
Which is just so me. In every room, of course. And I thought I'd be sharing twos up or spooning with someone. You know.
Top of town.
Yeah, top of the town. I'm in Suffolk, Jesus. So we got picked up. We got plied with more drink, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, so it all went very well. There's this huge crowd there. Never saw Rod apart from this bobble head of hair that went on with like all these minders round him, with this like hubbub of people. And old Nobby, we had a doorman there, we had a bouncer there, like it's all big security. And Rod walks through with this like shocking blue electric jacket, you know, suit thing on, really, you know, full Monty. Nobby was the other guitar player, pissed as well. Hey, Rod! And he like shouts out to Rod, and of course no one's in there. This bloke's looking at like, Rod. Oh, he's doing that again. He's pretending he doesn't know me. He always does this. He'll have a right laugh about it later, of course. This guy's like laughing at him. So we did the show, and then afterwards we went down into this Trader Vic's in the basement of the hotel and got even more drunk with the Bee Gees, Mike Oldfield. We ended up playing a game of dice on the table with about 10 of us till about 4 a.m. I had this lovely presidential suite upstairs. I think I was in bed for an hour before I had to get on the plane and come home. And I went to bed so drunk I'd a knotted, what's it called, like a table napkin thing, but a big thing, knotted on my head like the Englishman on holiday, going up to this hotel room with my shoes off, looking like an absolute oik.
I mean, you had me at We Got Drunk with the Bee Gees, to be honest. I mean, how many people in the world can say, oh yeah, I got drunk with the Bee Gees?
That was funny. I mean, I was kind of, we did our spot and we came off, and I'm standing there with this German interpreter girl that was kind of looking after us. And it was all a bit of a blur because it's only like 3 minutes and you're off again. It's like, it's a bit crazy. I could see these two shadowy figures coming across. I did actually get a photo, but it never came out because it was too dark. But these two shadowy figures coming across to me, I'm like, who's this? And it was Morris and Barry Gibb. And oh, hi, great song, really love the song. I'm Morris Gibb. Hi, I'm Barry. I'm like, oh, hi, I know who you are. I'm Greg. And they go, we'll see you later in the hotel. Yeah, we'll see you later. Yeah, I've had a few drinks. And walked off. And the only reason Barry Gibb wasn't there, he refused to fly or something stupid. I think he didn't want to fly or something.
Yeah.
So only the two of them showed up to do their playback. But they introduced themselves to me. I'm like saying, yeah, like I think I know who you are, chaps.
I think it's good that your drinking antics brought a new meaning to the song "Staying Alive."
It was a drunk weekend. Jesus Christ.
I had Michael Lattance come up and introduce himself to me. Hi, I'm Michael. It's like,
wow.
I think I know.
Yeah.
Is he quite? Was he as a bigger character in real life? Did he?
Hey, they were great, really friendly, great guys. I love that band.
Yeah,
They were brilliant.
A lot of people hold them really close to the heart.
Live, mate, they were killer band. Super.
Never had the
Was
pleasure.
it In Excess?
Yeah, In Excess.
Did you ever see them?
I didn't like that 80s stuff. I wasn't a fan of that.
Okay.
I was in a depression for several years with the 80s. Once you got past 1983, I struggled through till about...
There's some great stuff in it, mate.
I mean,
I think I came alive again about 1999. I think I got back into life again.
But you always told me this when I first met you.
I fell out of love with rock and roll. Yeah, go on.
Exactly. No, I remember you telling me when I first met you that you kind of ran away at that sort of Nirvana thing, and this is why you did the whole sort of covers and tribute bands and things like that, because it wasn't because you were good enough or not successful. You decided you didn't want to be in that.
I couldn't cope with the music business. It was. I mean, bearing in mind, I'd come out
anything normal rock died midnight. Well, from grunge through to then the Britpop thing. I mean, after the Bad Company tour, the rock scene was in such a bad state. I came out the game for 8 years. Yeah. I didn't get back into music till 2004.
Wow. Okay.
Because
Thunder couldn't sell out the Brighton Centre back then.
Well, Thunder split up. The Choir Boys were gone. Guns N' Roses were finished. All that classic rock was gone, and especially in England, the Britpop I just didn't fit into it. It was horrible music made by ugly people with pudding haircuts, Parker coats and roll necks. It's like, well, that ain't rock and roll.
Yeah.
Not in spiral carpets and all of that. And
it's crazy.
I gave up. I sold off all my guitars except for Pinky, one acoustic. And I had about 16 guitars at the time, some real nice vintage stuff. Got rid of the lot. And I got the bug back in about 2004 with this particular little baby here. Set it all rolling.
Come on, bring it out. Let's have a look. Go on.
I was doing a building job for Fat Rick up at his shop. And as everyone going in and out my van, getting tools and all of that, I'm walking in, I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have a cup of tea break in a minute. I mean, all right, if I have a go at this guitar. Oh God, how much, Rick? I think the job, I think I charged £1,000. He went 1,500 quid. I went, I'll have it. So I had to find 500 quid. I done another.
He's done this a lot in his career.
I done another little job for him at his house. A little tiling job. That was 300 quid. I charged him. It was only a couple of days. I bought the Black Explorer. That was £600. So that's another 300 quid. I'm out. So that's £800. It's cost me to work for him. And then the last job I done, I went in and bought a bloody 72 gold top, 1,600 quid. I went, stop putting these guitars in front of me. Just stick out all your 20 granders up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got to earn some money out of this work. But this was the guitar that I got the bug for being in a band, and I did the Dean Howard band, did the album. That's the one where Ian Gillan sings on it, Toby Jepson, Danny Bowes. They all done a track for me.
We'll reissue that at some point in the future.
I was going to say, these are things that I need to, go and find.
Well, the rock music got a little bit better back then, Everyone got fed up with all of that, and the grunge was gone. It's like, it's some.
Got to thank the darkness for some of that.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
big time.
It was back, like you said, when I remember coming to your old gaff in about 91.
What, down in Rochester?
Yeah, and we were playing your junior for a Marshall, weren't we? And I think I might have been trying to buy it off. I can't remember. And we were both in the doldrums.
Junior, as a Marco Pirioni.
I'll come down with Andy, of course, because Andy fixing every story. Good old Andy.
But that was a Marco's out of Adam and the Ants.
Right, that's the one. And I was going to possibly buy it. I can't remember. But I'd just done 3 years. That's a long time. 3 years on an album that ended up costing over £100,000. In one of the biggest studios in the country, making this, as always, a ridiculously over-the-top AOR album with Jeff Downes and, these big songwriters, and I was kind of whizzing around working all these people. And by the time the album is done, any album that takes you that long to do is going to destroy you mentally anyway, regardless of whether there's...
You'll be bored shitless of it time you finish it. So I'm sick of that, I never want to hear it again.
I was redoing guitars over guitars because I'd changed my style and changed the setup, and I ended up thinking, I'm not having that Fernandez going on this album, I'm going to put my Black Les Paul custom on it. It was mental what we was doing. But we were so deep into it, we had to see it through. And that's enough to break anybody. And plus the fact, me being... the guy that kind of leads the band, writes songs, does all the Dennis Waterman bit, I'm there all the time. I didn't just pop in every 3 or 4 weeks like the drummer or the keyboard player or the singer would. I was there 24/7 going potty, So by the time we finish it and we got this incredible sounding album that could compete with White Snake and Bon Jovi, which it really could production-wise, AOR's dead. It's finished. We literally had about 3 weeks to watch Bryan Adams do everything I do it for you. Yeah. And then we watched our game die on its arse. Mentally, that broke me in such a bad way. I didn't want to not play, but there's no way there was an industry for it. No. So I went back to my mate's house. I was sleeping on his floor in his front room. I came back with £5 in my pocket. I had no bank account. I had nothing. I had a Les Paul and I had a Marshall. And I slept on my friend's floor, and it was Christmas 1991, and he went, what are you going to do? I went, apart from kill myself with drugs and drink, I said, I don't really know. And he said, why don't we put a fun band together? Why don't we just I said, oh, fucking You know, what he said, why? He said, there's a good music scene. Just go out and do. I said, because bear in mind, we'd come from the background of you put a tour together, you have an agent, you have a promoter, your management deal with all of this stuff. I just sit there writing songs. I don't know how to book a gig until I'm told to go and play a gig, you know.
Yeah.
And my mates say, no, I know loads of gigs. I'll book them. I'll do this. I said, what? How does that even work? I said, that's what we did back in 1981. He went, no, it's brilliant. So I went out and saw a few bands at these venues, and I thought, how much do they get paid? Do they get paid? Because we don't get paid doing gigs in real bands in London. You pay to play. Yeah. He went, oh no, I'll get like 175 for the band. I went, what, to split between what, 35, 40 quid each? He went, oh, yeah, about that. I went, bloody hell, I'm in. You know, it's like, wow, that's like your dole money in one hit. You know?
Yeah.
So next thing you know, I said, well, I don't know, I'm still kind of doing the band, but I don't know how it's going to go. He said, what's the band that no one's ever done? And I was like, he said, no one does glam rock. And this was before the tribute game. So he said, what? He said, why don't we go out and put a covers band together, but we only do glam rock. Sweet, Slade, Mud, Wizard, T-Rex, Mott the Hoople.
Yeah. I'm
like, Alvin Starr. I went, really? He went, how much fun would that be? I went, do you know what? This is like something you want to do as a kid, but you don't think there's a market for it. And that's what became this crazy band. That's the only reason I went out of the original game and got into the what became the tribute scene. We was right at the front end of that because we was like a tribute to an era, and before you knew it, we were just going mental. That's why I said I didn't do a gig sober for 150, and we were booked everywhere. We ended up in Butlins. We was doing all the holiday camps. We was doing big social clubs, and we was earning a living at it. I was actually earning a living, which enabled me to buy more drink, more drugs, and more guitars, and go around and go crazy, doing the rock and roll lifestyle that we couldn't do in the original band.
Yeah.
You know, so
see, that was my thing, though. I just
for 8 years
flat refused to do covers. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was the same as you. I was never going to do it, but I had no money, and I didn't want to get a day job. I wanted to stay a pro musician, as it were. So I did 8 years of that, and it was just, you know, you have to be thankful for it. You have to respect it where it's due. And I thought that enabled me to springboard until I eventually left. But I got the gig, you know, in the Lizzie tribute, doing the Lizzie thing for 6 years, which was a really good day job. And we did really, really well. We were probably the biggest tribute in the country at that time. Playing, I mean, man, I was playing 150 gigs a year. You know, I'd come off of 8 years straight doing probably at least 100 gigs a year for 8 years to doing 150 gigs a year for 6 years, until that absolutely destroyed me and I was broken. But by that time, I saw the darkness, I saw rock making a bit of a comeback, a little bit of the AOR thing came back, you know, and that's when I put the band back together.
But yeah, how much of that period of doing the I mean, obviously you've explained your reasons for taking the plunge into going out and doing covers every night. But how much? Yeah,
you're doing the Sweet and Slade and Wizard.
Exactly. I mean,
I
think you came in from a different angle than most people, because what most people would do at that time is they would take the contemporary songs that were sort of in the charts that maybe weren't part of the group. So like Cher might be having a hit, or you know, there might be a bit of
doing all the shit stuff.
That's the phrase I'm looking for, Deano. Yeah, top 40. But what you did was you went to a completely different era and plugged into that. So that's kind of it. When you came out the other end, how much of that did that? How, because you then kind of tumbled not back into what you did before, you tumbled into Cats in Space.
After Maritz, because Maritz was the band before If Only, so we ended up reforming Maritz to do the AOR album that we never did. And because I'd learned a little bit about what was going on in the scene, and I'd got people like your Rob Evanses who came on board, and they wanted to kind of find out, you're the guy that's come back out of nowhere, you know. And I didn't realise that. See, this is the other thing, and the short version is, when a genre dies and it's boxed off, it has a finite amount of stuff in that box. So Maritz were put into this dead AOR box that was the 80s as one of the bands that never quite made it. But as you're doing it as that genre's alive, there's so much stuff going on with it and bands coming left, right and centre, you can't encapsulate what that era is till it's done. Like same as grunge became a box, etc. Glam rock became a box. So when the English AOR thing became its box, Maritz became one of the bands that were quite recognised Fast forward to when I want to put the band back together, all of a sudden people want to know, because they've got an angle to a story as to, you know, so tell us what happened with Moritz, why it never made it in the 80s and why you're back now. I said, because now with the internet and, you know, MySpace, etc., as it was, there's this whole platform for bands to give it another go. So that's why Moritz came out. And then when I realised that I didn't really want to do AOR anymore, because I'd moved away from it, I wanted to do what I really wanted to do, which was what became Cats in Space, as a vanity project, as it's well documented. The whole springboard all came back from playing all those glam rock songs for years and then learning a bit of Queen and chucking a bit of that in there.
Yeah.
It's good breeding ground to kind of get your chops together for being a more kind of rounded player, if you like. And then the Limehouse thing with the Lizzie thing, you know, I learned how to play, because I was never really a lead guitar player. I could play lead guitar, but I never really wanted to be the lead guitar player. I was more happy writing the songs. Now I'm in Lizzie tribute, doing all the Lizzie solos, because that's the one thing I was okay at doing, you know. And it all stood me in good stead to do Cats in Space. So that's the only reason that all happened, really. I just didn't want to stop playing guitar. I love playing guitar too much. However, doing it the amount I did it, it was like, you know, overkill to such a degree. I remember that last gig I did, Christmas 2006, put my gold top back in its case. That didn't come out again for quite a few months, and I didn't know at one point whether it'd ever come out again. I was done. I was spent. And I can remember taking out the case at Martin's house to do some little writing things, you know, have a little go, which became a little solo album that I did. And I remember taking that guitar out, and it hadn't been out since Sheffield. I'm like, you know, I could still smell Sheffield in the case, you know. I was like, but
what does Sheffield smell like?
It smelled like fear and depression, which is what I felt like when I walked out of that band, you know. But it was a bad ending. It was a very bad ending I had, and it was not good. Not something I want to dredge up really, but the good thing was, you know, when I was with Martin and we started knocking some songs together, which became the Heartless album. It was like all the lights had come back on.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember he said to me, he said, last time I saw you, you really did look like a ghost. You look white. I was in Burgess Hill in Sussex, near me where I live, on a Sunday night, and I had to ask him where I was because I didn't know. I didn't know where I was. I'd done so many gigs, so many weeks, this was a Sunday night and I just didn't know where I was. And he said, but I was at home. I actually came to the gig from my house, and by the time I got from the house to the gig and done the sound check and got into gig mode, I'd forgotten where I was. And that was a regular thing that happened a lot to us because we gig so much. It's not an easy gig to do. It's hard to do it like that.
Folks, a little bit of an addendum to this episode. When I sat down to edit this podcast, I was listening to the fabulous Mike Oldfield story. And I thought, I'm just rendering stuff out over here, it's fine. I'll have a little bit of a poke about on the internet. And sure enough, I managed to type into the old tube of you and find Mike Oldfield live in Germany, blah, 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 whatever year. Click play, and sure enough, there's Mike Oldfield. And then suddenly, next to him is a very young-looking Greg Hart, Toby Sadler on keyboards, and then there's Nobby on guitar, and I thought, this is it, this is the actual episode that Greg has been discussing. And sure enough, he's there. It looks a bit drunk. Everything about it is exactly as described. And so I sent Greg a message. I said, I found it. I said, I've seen it. And he went, seen what? And I said, the TV show from Germany. And he went, well, I've never seen it. So I actually sent him the link, and he said, oh my word, he said, I've never actually seen this. And I didn't realise that somehow I'd managed to find it and he hadn't seen it. And it is exactly as he describes it. The pillars, what everybody's wearing, the tassel jackets and everything. So listen, I can't put it into the podcast because I think it's going to knock our podcast episode off YouTube due to some copyright issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the notes below here on YouTube, and you can all go and see Greg and his big hair 90s pals in all their glory. See you on the next one. Bye.